Hello, I'm here to answer questions for any and all of you. It is a beautiful fall day. I am really feeling like it's more like fall, which is really exciting. I'm able to walk a lot more. The heat really gets to me, and it's just been so refreshing. Good morning. Hope you guys have had a good week so far. I'm just here to answer any questions. I was just having a conversation with one of my friends who was sharing that she has learned a lot about how foods in America are just perverted, destroyed with the way that they're processed and what's added to it, and how she can eat gluten now where she couldn't before. And you know, ever since I came out and shared my story about reversing celiac, a lot of people have come forward to share they had the same experience. So I just think that's really cool and interesting, and it's a very touchy subject because I know what it's like to have gluten sensitivity or true celiac. I know what those symptoms are like. I've put myself into a coma twice. But there is more than meets the eye there, and it is absolutely reversible. I react to low histamine unaged meats. I'm losing hope. Well, could you expand on what your reactions are, and then we'll go from there. So I'm working with someone on YouTube. Hopefully we can do some troubleshooting. And if you guys have any questions or things that you're trying to work through, I would be happy to try to work through it with you on this video. Good morning. In terms of the retreat that I am hosting with Ken and Misha Berry, Maria Emmerich, Kelly Hogan, Lisa Wiedemann, that is October 11th. And if you're interested, we have literally a couple of spots left. I'm really excited. Really excited. I am hiring a private chef and a couple of assistants to help me with just basically the workload. The cooking is very demanding. I am bringing only the best quality meats, the meat that I healed eating, all of my favorite cuts, and it's a lot of cooking, so that will definitely help. Do you have advice or opinion on taking oregano oil for SIBO? I think that a lot of people can get away with not having to take anything. The carnivore diet has been proven effective for people with SIBO. There are some instances with either SIBO or Candida where it's persistent and oregano oil can be helpful. But if you do use it, there is a specific protocol. No one should be taking oregano oil just randomly for weeks on end. That is a really bad idea because bad bacteria can asexually reproduce and become resistant to oregano oil. It is an antibiotic. It's nature's antibiotic. So one, you don't want to be sterilizing your gut regularly because it does kill the good and the bad. And two, certain things can become resistant to it. So it depends on the situation and what other things this person has done to deal with the SIBO. I've worked with a lot of people with SIBO, and I would say only, if I had to choose a percentage, I would say 35%, only that many needed to do something more. It's really cool to see what the body can do when you support it at a systemic level. It's incredible. I have shortness of breath and sleep apnea when I eat most foods, including unaged meat. I'm glad to hear gluten intolerance can be healed. So shortness of breath, oops, it disappeared. Shortness of breath and sleep apnea. So the sleep apnea is something that might take some time to heal. That is, a lot of times insulin resistance is at the root of sleep apnea. And so that takes time for you to see changes. If you're having shortness of breath, that does kind of sound like a histamine response to me. It could also be blood sugar dysregulation, so you might consider looking into your macros and balancing your macros. Could my Could my gut still heal if I include your brownies also in my diet with strict carnivore? Yes, for sure. My brownies are very friendly. Even my most sensitive clients do well with them. The only determining factor would be, can you handle sweet tasting things? Some people do better cutting them out together. Some people do great including the brownies for more variety, but they will not damage your gut. Also on stevia, um, a lot of people say stevia will make you infertile. It will cause hormonal imbalances and endocrine issues. Yes, stevia can do those things if they're taken in an obnoxious quantity. Obnoxious. And what people don't talk about is the fact that stevia is antifungal. It can be beneficial in its place. So the stevia in my brownies will not cause you. It will not cause you issues. I mean, I've never seen it cause anyone issues. So I have definitely researched heavily into this, and I consumed stevia. The first year I did not use any sweeteners, but then I discovered Equip Foods Prime Protein. I created my brownies, and that was one of the first introductions after eating only meat for a year. And I continued to heal. Like, it's never been an issue for any client. So anyways, yes, you can heal your gut. Just be sure that you're getting all of your animal fats. What do you eat on a typical day? So these days, since I'm pregnant, pretty much every single day I have eggs, whether that be duck eggs or scrambled chicken eggs. If I have them scrambled, I like to eat them with salsa. If I have duck eggs, I do them sunny side up and just eat them plain. They're delicious. I'm on a total duck egg kick right now. And then I have also been eating turkey bacon. I don't like turkey very much. I don't recommend it. No huge benefits other than it being an animal protein. It's lower fat and it's bacon. I really don't like the lipid profile of pork or chicken. If I had lamb bacon, I would be eating that. I don't always have lamb bacon. The turkey bacon is at the grocery store I go to, and it's almost always on sale. So I eat that. Lately I've been dipping it in my carnivore buffalo. It's a whipped buffalo dip made from cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, and cream cheese, which can be left out. The last couple times I haven't used cream cheese and it tastes the same. It's delicious. And so I can get around 50 to 60 grams of protein with breakfast every day, which is really good for me because breakfast is definitely my favorite meal these days. I'm ready for it, and then in the afternoon I'm like, I don't really feel like I need to eat again, but I do know I need to eat again. So I try to get in as much protein as possible. And for dinners, I've been, I eat meat twice a day, every day, at least twice, but I will be dressing it up more than I will when I'm not pregnant. I just like more variety, so whether that be the chicken tenders that I make with the coating is made out of pork rinds, flour from Carnivore Crisps, Parmesan cheese. Those are incredible. I like meatballs. I eat those with spaghetti, which is miracle noodle. Last night I just made plain chicken breast. Sometimes I use fresh rosemary from my garden, and then I roasted a delicata squash, which is a low carb, low oxalate squash. I only had 2 pieces of the squash, ate all the chicken, and I was good. So it definitely varies from day to day, but my eggs in the morning are the most consistent thing. I'm going to keep bouncing back and forth. Can I heal histamine intolerance if I still have mold in my home? It might be difficult, but I did. I was diagnosed with SIRS. I knew I had mold toxicity as well as heavy metals. And the apartment that first of all, Tyler, my husband, offered me a place to live. That's how we met. He runs Airbnb, and he let me live in his bonus room. That house that he let me live in was in the ghetto. I am certain that it had mold. Old house, like practically falling apart. I don't even know if it's still standing right now. And I started healing there in that home. And then when I moved out of there, I moved into a condo in the same town and rented out both bedrooms so I could afford to live there. And when I moved out, I actually discovered there was black mold all over the living room wall behind my couch. And I healed. I reversed everything with labs to confirm. So, and then my histamine intolerance definitely healed, I would say entirely within the first year. I haven't had any symptoms of histamine intolerance for a very long time. So the answer is yes, I know that you can, but I also want to say, like, you should really try to take care of that mold. It is not good to live with mold. and it can definitely cause issues and exacerbate your issues. So do what you can to take care of it. If you can't move into another house, then maybe just dedicate one room where you know it's clean and free of mold and do a lot of healing in there, because it is really important. Very, very important. How did you emotionally deal with being wrongly accused of eating disorder, and if it may have affected you, and if it may have affected how you treated your parents that you may now regret or feel guilt or shame? So emotionally, I dealt with it by putting myself in their shoes. If I had a child who was 69 pounds and just rapidly losing weight over the span of like 3 years without being able to control it, but she was really adamant about doing a ketogenic diet, I can understand why they would connect those dots. Even still, they didn't pull that trigger until a doctor in the hospital literally pulled my mom aside and said, "Your daughter has an eating disorder. You can't believe anything she says. We have to hook her up to a feeding tube." And that scared my mom. And I write about this in my book, by the way. My book is on Amazon. It's called My Tailor Journey. And I write about all this and just the dynamic. It was very toxic at the time, and I can look back and see, you know, what else were they going to do? And so they were convinced, you know, they knew my autoimmune issues were real. They were with me when I was diagnosed with most of them. You know, the functional medicine doctors, the chiropractors, they were there. But they didn't believe that it was the root after they spoke to that nurse in the hospital. They really believed that if I gained weight, then most of my problems would resolve themselves. Coming from the perspective of someone who doesn't know anything about autoimmune disease, autoimmune is invisible disease, all they could see is that I was wasting away. I can understand where they came from. It was still very hard to emotionally deal with that. And I still, to be completely honest with you guys, I still have nightmares of being abandoned by my family or abandoned by people that I love, including my husband, Tyler. And I know that's because of what I went through. It was horrible, but I forgive them. I forgive them. And I can understand. And so my mom and I have an incredible relationship. We talk on the phone almost every day. She is my best friend, so I'm really grateful for that. And then the second part of that question was, if it may have affected how you treated your parents that you may now regret or feel guilt or shame. No, I didn't treat them poorly. I was just really sad, and I eventually moved out, got out of that environment because it was really difficult for me because they didn't see the truth of the situation. I think if anything, they might struggle with how they treated me because they misunderstood me, but they also felt like they were stuck. And I get that, and I've had many conversations with my mom about that, and it's just kind of like, man, it sucks that it played out that way. We were all trying our best, and we just can't dwell in the past. We love each other. We're very happy to have a good relationship now. My mom cannot read my book. It's too painful for her. She will never read it. Okay, I'm going to keep bouncing back and forth. What do you eat on a typical day? What do you think about no salt? When I eat salt, I seem to get cramps, so now I'm just lime, water, and meat. I think that it's very rare that someone does well with no salt unless they're eating a lot of raw meat, because that is how you get your electrolytes. If you're cooking your meat, those are mostly cooked out, and everyone does need electrolytes to function. Our brains literally run on electromagnetic frequencies. There's probably an underlying cause to why you're getting cramps. There might be imbalance, but it doesn't mean that you don't need any electrolytes. Usually if you're getting bloated, edema, cramps, whatever, there's an imbalance. It doesn't mean that you should just cut it out altogether. That being said, there are a lot of zero carb lifers who don't touch salt and they seem to be thriving. I don't get it. It's over my head. I don't get it. I need salt to thrive. So if you feel really good without it, then I think you're fine. But I don't quite understand it. Hi, Rebecca. I am in second week of priming, eating what I consider an obnoxious amount of food, and now I feel a weird fluttering in my gut. Chest, throat area different than palpitations. Any ideas? It could be histamine intolerance, and it could still be related to your heart. So I know that the times that I've overeaten, it can literally just raise, it can stress your body out when it becomes too much. And so it might not be heart palpitations, but it could still be the fluttering of your heart. A different type of palpitation. It's technically what it would be. It could also be that you're eating a lot more salt than you're used to. It could be that the first thing that comes to mind is that you're priming, you're carnivore, you're eating a ton of protein and fat, and both of those things in obnoxious amounts, which you worded it that way, can cause those things. I don't believe in eating until you're Thanksgiving full. I do not. Some people do. I think it makes sense to eat until you're full and satiated, and then eat again the moment you feel hunger, or like you're even at a 2 out of 10 of the hunger scale for priming. I prime a little bit different than some other people, and everyone's different. So listen to your body. If you're getting uncomfortable with that feeling, then I would definitely maybe back off a little bit. And don't force the food is number one. Your body is telling you something. And if you're priming under the guidance of a coach, I would go to that coach and let them know, and they can guide you through it. Hey Rebecca, I have heard some other carnivores talk about breast tissue growth on carnivore. Was that true with your recovery? Thanks for going live answering questions. Everything grew on me. That's the short answer. I gained 65 pounds in a year, so everything grew. Someone asked, what is priming? It's basically getting ready to fast. It's priming your body to be in a safe place, supported and comfortable fasting. I knew I needed to reverse diet and was following their protocol, but I'm going to pull back on the amount of food. Thank you. So reverse diet is totally different than priming. Reverse diet is done over the span of a couple of weeks or even months. And that is what I do with my clients. And it's so cool because most of my clients that I work with are female, and even the males have increased their resting metabolic rate. But for the females, they're eating around 2,200 to 2,500 calories per day and maintaining their weight. And that was not the case before, because we slowly and gradually increased and hit their ratios and macros exactly the way we needed to, and addressed everything else that plays into that. Eating only meat makes you gout. No, it does not. It actually heals gout. In the beginning stages, it can cause gout symptoms because your uric acid is going up, but it actually heals the root cause of gout. So sugar is literally what triggers gout. And people don't see that because when they eat more meat, they get the symptoms. It doesn't mean meat is the causation. There's a correlation, not the causation. And there are lots of studies done on this. Were you ever diagnosed with EDS? No. A lot of people suspected it, but I was never diagnosed with it. Same with lupus. Many doctors were like, I'm almost certain that you have lupus, and I was never diagnosed with it. I've worked with people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, though. And I have a good friend from my old school who has it as well. Any other questions? Carnivore could help with EDS. Yes, 100%. For sure. It has. 100%. And I'm sure if you Googled that, you would come across testimonials, whether it be on Reddit or Rivero Health. There have to be testimonials. I've heard of multiple occasions, and I've worked with people to do that. For sure. Why sometimes when I overeat more food than I can digest, my body starts excreting water so much? I lose pound even though I'm technically in calorie surplus. My gut is very damaged. By the way, it's because your gut is damaged. You're not assimilating the food that you eat. You aren't what you eat. You are... Hey, Shelly. I was just thinking about you. You aren't what you eat. You are what you absorb. And so, like, when I had C. diff, I was eating 6,000 calories one day. It was when I discovered a keto ice cream recipe, and at the base of it was MCT oil. But I was losing rapid amounts of weight, and I was eating 6,000 calories. And that included eggs, avocado, butter, meat, all the keto foods, coconut butter or coconut manna. And that's because I wasn't absorbing and assimilating what I was eating. It was going straight through me. So for you, it could be that when you eat more food, you are causing more discomfort to your digestive system, and it makes it even more difficult to assimilate that food. When you eat more, you require more digestive enzymes. It sounds like you already have a deficiency in digestive enzymes, so eating more will not help. What you need to do is address your gut, heal and seal your gut, and make sure that you're producing the right amount of stomach acid and digestive enzymes. Sean Baker did an interview with, or Dr. Sean did an interview with a woman with EDS, someone said. Yeah, I would guess on his website, which is Rivero Health, would have that testimonial. How many grams of meat should be eaten per meal? So I measure by protein, or I measure my meat by ounces usually, and it either way, however you're measuring it, it depends on the individual. So I personally eat around 140 to 150 grams of protein per day. And when I say grams of protein, I don't mean by weight. I mean macronutrient grams of protein. So that would be probably around a pound and a half of meat if I was eating only meat. Now, I eat other foods like yogurt and eggs and stuff, so it adds up differently, but this is something that happens when I work with clients in other countries. The word gram gets confused. People get confused about it. I'm not talking about the weight. So grams of meat, 100 grams of meat will not be 100 grams of protein. It will be different. So anyways, it will depend on your bio-individual needs. What I would aim for is 1 gram of protein, 1 macronutrient gram of protein per pound of desired body weight, and start there. So 100 grams by weight of lamb would be less macronutrient grams of protein than 100 grams by weight of beef, because beef is higher in protein and lower in fat. Lamb is usually higher in fat and a little lower in protein by volume. And so I hope that makes sense, but it depends on your personal needs. Do you use any air filters or remediate the mold in your home? Yes, we took care of the mold that we found. We found some black mold in our shower, and we took care of that immediately. We treated it, and we didn't hire anyone to do it. We just treated it. And then we do have 2 very good air filters. And if you go on the website Surviving Mold, they have a ton of resources there also. What are the best cuts of beef for high fat ratio? Chuck, ribeye is actually just a 1-to-1, but it's still a fattier cut of steak. And brisket are the first ones that come to mind. I'm in the midst of ketovore eating, and I have started getting a twitch in my eyelid as well over my body. Ketovore eating, and I started getting a twitch. So I would think that is some type of electrolyte imbalance, maybe potassium deficiency. Or just plain old dehydration. So I would be sure that you're taking a good electrolyte supplement, or you're using Soul Water, but you need to be getting enough sodium. This happens with a lot of people. When you start going lower carb, your body is letting go of sodium at a much higher rate because your insulin comes down. And so you will need to consume more sodium and electrolytes in general. Eye twitches, or body twitches usually are electrolyte related. Excuse me. This person also said, unfortunately, I can't afford to get rid of the mold in house at the moment. A lot of people are in that situation, which is why I took the Shoemaker protocol to help people who can't necessarily afford to pay $10,000 with out-of-pocket testing and then pay for the prescription binders. I don't believe everyone needs to do that. I had SIRS and I didn't do a protocol. I didn't take the prescription binders. I am working with multiple clients to reverse SIRS without the protocol. That being said, the protocol is proven to work and it makes sense. but I don't think everyone needs to do it. There are genetic differences that will make someone much more susceptible and determine whether or not they can fight it or not. But I believe it goes deeper than that, and that's what I'm working on. It's my current project and something I'm really excited about. So I would say, so this someone over here says, tell that person to get Home Biotics by Dave Asprey spray. It works. That sounds pretty cool. That sounds like something that could definitely help. So what I would say is just get a high quality air filter, and like I said earlier, try to find one room that doesn't have mold that you can spend more time in as you're healing. And I mean, some people do live in tents, and I don't think that's extremely practical, but I also like how much are you struggling? How much is this really affecting your health? Just take the steps that you can take. And I think a lot of people are confused about mold toxicity, like what it literally is. It can look like so many different things. You can be diagnosed with SIRS because of other things like Lyme disease or brown recluse spider or certain types of algae. And it's not always mold, but if you have mold in your home and you're having symptoms, try to address the mold, do the best that you can do. If you can't move out or remediate, then do the best that you can do. Try not to hang out right around the mold. But I mean, the truth is there's mold everywhere, and not everyone can afford to move into a new house that might also have mold. Yeah, a filter would be a great place to start. Mold has given me mast cell activation syndrome. I can't eat anything without a reaction. Yeah, that can be reversed. I've worked with plenty of people with mast cell activation syndrome. I had it, and it can be reversed. It is a genetic thing, but epigenetics exist, and so addressing the mold would be really important for you if that is the root cause. Is visible water damage as bad as mold? Yes, it's bad. There's a high likelihood that you're dealing with that. And you know, when you walk into a building and you smell that musty smell, it's not necessarily mold. It could be other things. But they can still be harmful to your health. And so water damage, clear water damage is definitely a concern. We don't know how far it's been there, how long it's been there, how far along it's gotten, but I would definitely, if I had clear water damage, I would get it tested and see what you're dealing with. All right, so it's been about 30 minutes. I'll keep going. Love the picture on the wall behind you. Also, this live has been very helpful. Good, I'm glad. And thank you. So Tyler got me this, like right after he built me my office. And then my sister drew that for me a couple of years ago. It was like right after I had gotten back in touch with my family and they knew I was only eating meat. So she drew me a steak. I just love this stuff. If you guys haven't checked out Noahic Balm, I highly recommend them. I'm going to be having them, each person will get a free little sample of this in their gift bag, and they have a whole bunch of different scents and stuff like that. And it's just so awesome on your skin, especially as it gets colder outside. And I put this on my face every day. How's little David? Thank you for asking. He's good, as far as I can tell. The other day, I realized I hadn't felt him move. I just recently started feeling him move, but I realized I hadn't felt him for like a day and a half, and I was like bummed and a little worried. Not really, just kind of like, I wish I could feel him move. So I really prayed about it, and then that next morning, I was laying in bed. As my husband was waking up, I get up way earlier than him, and sometimes I get back in bed just to hang out with him in the morning. And he was, well, actually, I told my husband, I was like, I haven't felt him move for a couple days. And so I lifted up my hips and I shook my hips because that's what they told me to do at our anatomy ultrasound to get him to move. So I did that, and then he punched me. He punched me right in the center, right under my belly button, and it was obvious. He was like, "You just woke me up. Come on, mom." And then he was moving. He was moving around, and I felt him a lot last night as well. I still like trip myself up. Like, is this just really weird gas that I've never had before? And it's definitely him. It feels like sometimes it feels like distinct kicking. I've felt rolling, and I feel a lot of kind of popping. Just feel like little bubbles in there, and it's really cool. He is doing very well. He's measuring larger than my due date, so I am due January 18th according to the day of my last period, but he's measuring that I would be due January 8th, and I think I'm gonna have a big baby. My husband is very tall, but yeah, we're so excited. Do you think eggs, especially egg yolks, can be replaced if there is an allergy by eating beef liver? So you don't need to eat eggs. You get everything you need from meat. And if you're not eating eggs, I think that is a great idea to supplement with liver. You only need a very small amount every day. I wouldn't recommend eating more than that because it has a lot of vitamin A, and you could get vitamin A toxicity if you eat too much. So that's exactly what I do, and that is what I did when I only ate meat. I didn't reintroduce egg yolks until a year after eating only meat, and I did have organs, all different types of them. One, because it is great variety, but two, because it covers all of your nutritional needs. So that would be perfect. Wishing you a safe delivery and healthy baby. Thank you very much. And what does vitamin A toxicity feel like? I've taken 10,000 IU of vitamin A for years, cod liver oil. Vitamin A toxicity, I believe that you can get a lot of like electric shock feelings, weird symptoms with your skin. I think it would be very obvious if you were reacting to what you're taking. Someone says your eyes get very dry, your mouth gets very dry. It's horrible. That sounds awful. How long did you have chronic pain? What did you feel, and how long did it take you to heal it? I had chronic pain since the end of high school is when I ran into a lot of pain. I was seeing physical therapists and chiropractors and getting dry needling, and nothing would stop this persistent chronic pain. So that was a long time. What did I feel? I felt pain in my whole body. I had horrible TMJ. Spent so much money on retainers and doctors and even medications for my TMJ. They wanted me to take antidepressants for it. I didn't take those. I took a whole lot of pain meds. I was actually addicted to pain medications for a while. And yeah, it was a long time of whole body pain. Never comfortable. And massage was one of the only things that just took me away from that. And how long did it take me to heal it? The pain in my body was greatly resolved after about 6 months of only meat. The first two things I noticed within the first 2 weeks of carnivore in the way that was sustainable for me was better mood and better energy. But there were some days that I woke up in pain and I would think, what am I doing wrong? But I didn't change course because I knew God was calling me to do this. So I stayed consistent. And I'd say after 6 months, I really felt so much better. Like I could start going to the gym and I wanted to move. I would get out of bed and not be in pain. And it was so amazing. And I haven't felt pain since then. Not chronic pain anyways, like sure I get sore after a hard workout. Well, if anyone has any other questions, please do ask. Otherwise, I'll start wrapping up. How much liver per week is realistic to eat? I think that 1 ounce per day is realistic. So total of 6 or 7 ounces per week. But I think it's better to take a small dose daily. And when I started eating liver, I eat it raw, frozen. They would be chunks like this big, and then I worked up to chunks like this big, and sometimes I crave it, but that is a very appropriate amount. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. I think this has been really good. You guys asked awesome questions and you contributed. Thank you for helping with your comments. And if you're interested in my retreat, please do email me or send me a message. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.